Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Ezoic Explains. I'm Tyler Bishop, and today I'm going to be talking about how to target and identify topics that you can write about that advertisers will want to bid a lot on so that you can earn more from your content. So we've talked before about identifying which content is your highest earning content. We've also talked before about how to write about subjects that are likely to produce higher income. But in this case, we're going to target specific topics for your website that will attract higher earning advertisers. So we all know about different branches of advertising, whether it's the medical field or travel, and certain niches are just simply worth more than others for advertisers and for publishers. And today we're going to help you identify what the highest earning potential topics or subjects could be for yours. So if you're a website on pets, you may not have a lot of medical subjects you can write about. So you may need to get more granular in figuring out what topics in particular are going to attract the highest earning advertisers. So today, we're going to dive first into big data analytics here. So we're going to use both Ezoic and, surprisingly, we're going to use Google AdWords, actually known as Google Ads now. First, we're here inside of Ezoic's big data analytics. I'm going to go over here to content. And first I'm going to look at categories. So I've got my categories pulled up here. This is my Jiu-Jitsu website, and unfortunately I have never set any categories for this site. I did not do a good job maintaining it. But for most publishers, you'll have your content categorized into different categories. And so what you can do here is grab this row here that says page RPM, and we're just going to drag this over here to this side of the row. So now what I can do is sort my categories by page RPM. So this is telling me which categories in general are producing the most page RPM. So this is giving me an idea kind of roughly around what types of advertisers might be bidding on these pages, or at least what categories advertisers might be bidding the most for, considering that the ad density is probably pretty similar on these pages. So this is giving me an idea for the page itself. But if I want to dive a little bit deeper here, I can go to content, and then I can go to landing pages, and this is where we've talked about quite a bit before, this idea of ePMV being even more important than landing page, or more important than page RPM. So I can take those categories and figure out, okay, I've got certain categories on my site that are worth more than others potentially, but now let's look at these specific articles on my site, and then which ones are producing the highest earning sessions when people land on those pages. So are they visiting subsequent pages? Are they spending more time on these pages and advertisers are bidding more? Let's go over here and then sort by ePMV. So you can also add filters here. So you can see here, I've got one article that's producing a $28 ePMV, significantly higher than my average $2.99 ePMV here on my Jiu-Jitsu website. Unfortunately, it's only just got one visit, so it's a pretty limited sample. So I can add these filters here where I only include pages that have visits greater than, whatever it is for your site. But I can sort here by ePMV, and this is going to give me a better idea of which articles are producing the highest earning visits or maybe even visitors. But I'm going to take it one layer deeper now, and I'm going to go to content and then author metrics. So this, in my case, I only have one author, and it's me on this site. But if you have multiple authors or people that contribute, you can actually go through here as well and look which authors are actually producing content with the highest page RPM. You can also look at the number of articles that they've produced in a certain time window as well. You can also look at their average weekly articles. And so this is giving you a good idea of how to compare and contrast which authors, categories, landing pages all produce your highest content and this highest earning content. So this should give you a pretty good idea of like what types of subjects currently are earning you the most amount of money. Now we're going to take it one step further. I'm going to first look at visit depth here. So I want to understand first which articles on my site are earning the highest ePMV. Is it the ones where people are basically landing on the page and those articles are generating the revenue, or am I largely generating my revenue from the ePMV from the landing page where people are visiting multiple pages? You can see here on my site, at least, the highest ePMV articles are actually the pages that are only, or the visits that are actually only getting 1 or 2 page views. You can see here in visit depth, I go to behavior, then visit depth. I get a pretty good idea here that I've got a couple couple instances where people are visiting up to 8 pages, but for the most part, when I'm creating content that people land on the page and then they go someplace else, or they land on the page and they go to maybe one other page. So I'm not necessarily reliant on my visitors visiting lots of extra pages. So in this case, I really want to focus on engagement. So I've got my categories, I know which writers are producing the highest earning content, and now I know I want to write highly engaged content that maybe doesn't necessarily link to a whole bunch of other articles. Now I'm going to go and create a Google Ads account. So you may say, Tyler, I don't want to create a Google Ads account. I have no desire to do any kind of advertising. And I say, that's fine. Set it all up. It's going to make you set up a campaign and all this other stuff. Just pause it. You can see here in my screen, it says none of your ads are running. That's good. I don't want to give Google a dime. I want Google to pay me. So in this case, I'm going to go over here to Tools, and I'm going to go to Keyword Planner. So now that I'm in Google Ads, I've got an account that's not running any ads. I'm going to take advantage of their keyword planner. I'm going to go to find keywords. So despite the fact that I didn't have very many categories on my site, one of the categories I did have was called Jiu-Jitsu News. So I'm just going to throw Jiu-Jitsu News as a keyword. And I'm going to click Get Started. So now you can go through all these different filters here, but I highly recommend selecting related ideas. And then if you have a topic like I do, Jiu-Jitsu News, which is pretty broad, I'd say broadly related ideas. If it's a pretty large concept like musical artists or something like that, you may say closely related ideas. I'm going to click on broadly. I want to exclude adult ideas. And then there's all these other ones you can throw in here as well. For this case, we're just going to leave those blank. And it says 447 keywords found. So you can see here the keywords that are associated with different monthly searches, how competitive they are, the ad impression share, and then the top of page bid. So even though these aren't necessarily bids in terms of these are search ads versus display ads, it gives me an idea of what advertisers are bidding the highest on. So now I can sort this by top of page bid. So now, surprisingly, you can see here some of the highest bid on topics here are Jiu-Jitsu tattoo, Jiu-Jitsu positions, Jiu-Jitsu versus karate, and then Pan Jiu-Jitsu, which is a Jiu-Jitsu tournament. And so I can get a good idea of the types of keywords and topics within my own subject matter that is the highest earning right now, or the most popular, where people are bidding the highest amount. So, and I can also see this competitive metric as well. So that's another thing that I might want to take into account. So now I've got this great picture of what types of content I can produce that might be the highest earning. I've got some keywords I can target, and I've used my categories and information about my website to figure out how I might want to structure that content. If I find out my visit depth is really deep for my highest EPMV articles, I may want to think about what I can do to produce a series of articles on something like Jiu-Jitsu tattoos versus one single article on Jiu-Jitsu tattoos. So this is just a way for you to think about what types of visitors you have. And by knowing things like visit depth and EPMV, you can better create content that's going to earn you more money. Do you want to create one article? Do you want to create 3? What should the topic be? Jiu-Jitsu is really broad, and you can see my average EPMV was $2.39 when we look at visit depth here in this date range. So it's one of those things where if I can just pick a subtopic within that is slightly higher, I could literally double my EPMV, and it all comes back to using data and information. So hopefully that's helped you to write better content that can earn you some more money. And if you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer the best I can. This has been another episode of Ezoic Explains.